All right, I'll get started then. I'll wait for that bus to go past.
Right, Paul.
Okay. So, before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land I'm speaking from, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'm David Briggs, New South Wales Division Chair and a National Vice President, and on behalf of the Colour Society of Australia, I'd like to thank you for attending this event, in which we're going to look back over the history and activities of the Society and look forward to the future, including our national conference, Colour Matrix Sydney 2025, coming up on October 31st to November 2nd, and also opportunities for members, old and new, to become more involved in the Society's efforts. In part one, CSA founding member and former AIC President Nick Harkness will talk about the history of the Society at the national level and its activities, and then Western Australian Division Chair and National President Mike Dixon and I will give an overview of the range of events held by our divisions in recent years. So I'll hand it over to you, Nick, if you want to share your screen. Are you able to share, Nick?
I just want to see where that's you.
That looks good. Oh, that's my email.
Right.
Hmm. Well, thank you for the introduction, David, and organising this meeting. I should also acknowledge country. We acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as traditional custodians of the ACT and recognise any other people or families with connection to the lands of the ACT and region. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and this region. The Colour Society of Australia was the brainchild of a group of colour enthusiasts who were by chance attending an AIC International Colour Association meeting in Monte Carlo in 1985. The AIC was established at a CIE meeting in 1967 in Washington, USA. The initial membership comprised of 8 countries, and this has risen to 23 member countries over time. The world map you can see shows the distribution of member countries and hosts for AIC meetings. Truly a global organization, with strong activity from the Americas, North and South, with Canada, USA, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile being active members. Similarly, we have strong representation from Asia, with China, Korea, Japan, and Thailand, and of course, Australia, representing Australasia, or the South Pacific Ocean. Europe has a huge number of members and participants in the AIC. So as I said, truly global.
Goodness, when was that?
Sorry about that.
Where was that?
The two founders, or original founders, Eva Fay and Brian Powell, on their return from Monte Carlo, set about forming the CSA and contacted those who they felt would be of interest. The Colour Society was registered as a not-for-profit organisation in 1987. Founding members included Eva Fay, Peter McGinley, Paul Green Armitage, Stephen Dane, Max Lucia, Ken Pidgeon, Sean Bolton, Glenys Thompson, and many more. And this photograph was taken at a national conference in Adelaide. I don't have the year, but it was a good 25 years ago, I would imagine. The CSA operates both on a national and state basis. The histories of both the AIC and CSA are well documented, and I recommend that you visit both organizations' website to obtain more details about their activities. You'll observe that the Colour Society has made a substantial contribution to the world of colour. Over time, like many voluntary organizations, there have been ups and downs, the smaller states finding it difficult to maintain membership. And this is a topic which will be addressed later in today's meeting. COVID taught us a lot about remote meetings, and online conferencing platforms have improved dramatically. Face-to-face in-person meetings are obviously very important and desired because they add more to the networking opportunities and very colourful, informal and sometimes formal discussions, which can get quite interesting. The Colour Society holds a national conference annually hosted in turn by each active state division. There have been many of these in locations such as Perth, Fremantle, the Gold Coast, Launceston, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney and Fremantle. Can we get rid of that person?
I think I might have just done that.
Thanks, David. Conference topics such as the amusing and wonderful conference, Colour Through the Looking Glass from Perth, and this year in Sydney we have Colour Matrix. AIC has been an integral part of the success of the Colour Society of Australia. No matter how remote the location or size of the meeting, there's almost always been a delegate from Australia. Highlights of our association with AIC are particularly the 1991 conference, Colour and Light, held at the Maritime Museum in Sydney. And of course, in 2009, the AIC Congress. Which was held at the University of New South Wales in 2009, which attracted 300 delegates, both local and international. Organising AIC 2009 was a major logistical exercise and challenge. With a budget of over $400,000 and an organising committee of 20 very dedicated volunteers. It was a long journey, starting in 2004 at the AIC Interim Meeting in Porto Alegre, Brazil, where I gave a presentation to the AIC Executive Committee chaired by Paula Alesi, the then current AIC President for the CSA, to host AIC Congress 2009. The bid was accepted and the hard work began. 20 years on, the contacts and friendships which were created continue to be very strong. The two members of the CSA have been members of the AIC Executive Committee. Paul Green-Armitage was Vice President in 2002 and 2003, and myself with a number of roles on the AIC Executive, including President 2016 to 2017. Projects or dynamic projects which are underway with the AIC currently are the International Colour Day, which is held every year on 21st of March, the March equinox. The adoption of the International Colour Day was proposed in 2008 by Maria Douro, President of the Portuguese Colour Association. The International Colour Day has been considered to be important since colour is an influential phenomenon. This year, 30 countries participated in ICD. Several CSA members still play an active part, or do play an active part in activities, particularly David Briggs and Paul Green-Armitage with their work with the Colour Literacy Group, where I have also an involvement. This is a very valuable project. Its goal is to uniform colour education across all academic disciplines and all ages, from preschool through high school to tertiary education. No matter what academic discipline, colour is always just an add-on or taken with fragmented content. I believe the CLP will make a significant contribution to future colour education. You are all welcome to join the project. Maggie Maggio has already been mentioned. She's co-chair of the Colour Literacy Project, but she and Professor Stephen Westland published their book, Universal Perceptions of Colour, which Ruth mentioned or made reference to. And Maggie and Stephen were initially invited to be presenters at one of the Canberra Colour Club webinars, which we started holding late last year. So now, no doubt you want to ask me, what is the Canberra Colour Club and what is it all about? Well, more on that topic after David and Mike have talked. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. That was great. Thanks very much. Mike, would you like to come on now and talk about the sort of events you've been holding in Western Australia?
Sure. Well, we've had a reasonably consistent colour society enclave in Western Australia over many years. We've had quite a lot of national conferences, and our normal Western Australian gatherings usually happen every a couple of months. We've had lots of weekends away to places like Dwellingup and other destinations. And when you consider our first big meeting was the national conference in 1987 at Tech Park here in Perth. We've had very significant events and visiting speakers and visiting academics staying at Curtin Uni, doing all sorts of other programs via that. It's a bit different now because the management of the university has changed, and the design and architecture components out at Curtin are quite different from how they used to be organised. UWA's had an awful lot of changes, and ECU is going through a very big change at the moment, moving from their old facility at Mount Lawley to a very big building right smack in the centre of the city, which will be opening first thing next year. So that's going to be a really significant change to the fabric of the city itself. It's going to have a lot more young people doing academic things, and we're hoping to be able to make better contacts with North Metro and with ECU to spread the consciousness of the Colour Society. North Metro is still going strong, but with ECU in there as well, Edith Cowan University, that's going to make a very big difference. The Cultural Centre, which has got the Art Gallery of WA plus the new museum, or the reworked museum. It was a museum before, but it's had a really substantial rework. It's now, I think the total area in the WA museum is something like 7,000 square meters of display space. So it's really very significant. Peak is still going, which is the Perth Institute of Contemporary Art. So they're doing a very big renovation of that whole cultural centre at the moment, which theoretically I think should be opened sometime in the early part of next year. But who knows with these infrastructure things, how quickly or slowly they go. But I think there's opportunities for us to spread the word and hopefully get a new, younger audience to come and join our functions and, help support some of the things that are going on.
Oh.
Yes, I don't know whether I need to go into terribly much more than that. What do you think, Paul? Anything you want to add to that?
Just a minute, Michael, did you want to show some slides or
I can. I'll show some slides.
Nick, could you unshare? Could you end
Yeah,
share?
sure.
Stop share.
Yeah, done.
Thank you.
All right. Now, this is just a quick collection of some slides which indicate some of the things that have happened here in Perth, which were quite significant at the time. This is going back, 10 or so years. Anyway, it's to do with museum
We're not seeing
exhibition.
Mike.
Yep. Just hold on a sec. Just got to do the share screen thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you got the shared screen?
No, not yet. It's not. I'm not seeing it.
Okay. It says Alt S. I'll just try that. So it's not sharing.
No.
Well, that's annoying.
Is it telling you that you're not allowed to share? You should be allowed to.
No, it just has a green button saying share screen.
And
Oh, hang on. I think that's it. How's that?
There we
Can
go.
you see it now?
Yep. Yeah, you can see your whole screen.
Yep. I'll just enlarge it. How's that? Okay.
That's good.
You see it?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yep.
Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
I'm not getting any feedback.
What is
Yes.
it?
That's a yes.
Sorry? Can you see that, David?
I can see a sort of like a 3D sort of model of some
The
sort.
3D looking thing. Okay, so we can see it. Okay, that's good. I'll just see if it's here. I can flip through it. This is an example of some of the work that went into designing a very successful exhibition that we had at the WA Museum back in I think it was 2011 or 2012 or something. It was the Pompeii exhibition, which came from Melbourne to Sydney. It was supposed to go to Singapore, but Singapore pulled the pin on it, and WA had the opportunity to take it at very short notice, which is a bit of a struggle. Anyway, it was a bit of a juggle to get it all put together, but once it was done, it really worked well. This is some of the initial, 3D modeling that went into doing trying to work out how we could take all the material with minimum new build and maximum use of existing display cases and various other things that were in the museum. So these were just the 3D CAD modeling to make sure that we could fit everything where we wanted to fit it. But and that was the layout showing what it looked like with X number of people, because we had to be able to say, okay, how many people can go into a small temporary exhibition gallery? So we modeled up, 150, 200, 250 people just to see how crowded it would be. That was the graphics we did for the front entrance of the old museum. This is the actual real shots from the actual museum itself. It was a very big juggle, but we had to make the most of the existing display infrastructure we had, build new stuff where we needed to, and juggle the lighting as best we could. And with a short time frame, that was quite a challenge, but we managed to pull it off well enough that everyone who went really enjoyed it. We also had to segregate off the ash body so that and warn people in case they were going to be offended by going through that. So we had a warning saying, okay, that there's potentially disturbing stuff if you go around the corner. But yes, it was something which was an interesting exhibition exercise to do, because I hadn't done anything quite like this prior to this. This was a big step out from my usual sort of work, which is, designing mass-produced things. But, juggling all the colours and lighting, you can make or break an exhibition with the way it's set up and lit. And I think it's one of those things where in the current new museum, they've had some good exhibitions, but they've had some shockers as well due to the way they've done the lighting. And I'd really like, I've put in feedback from myself, but I'd like it if people were more conscious about, things done well, things short changed, so that they can put in feedback as well. Anyway, I think overall we managed to do an acceptable job with this one, because we got a lot of really good feedback from people who went. And considering we only had 3 months to put it together, which was a really short time frame. There was the queues of people lining up to get into it before it closed. So they had the warning saying, okay, you've only got 3 weeks left before we close it. And those last 3 weeks, it was absolutely chock-a-block. At the time, it set a record for the attendance at the WA Museum. And my museum buddies say that was probably the thing that tilted the approval of the new museum over the bar. So
that's great, Mike. We don't hear you keep pretty quiet about your achievements, but that's really interesting to see.
Yeah. Anyway, this is another one that I did a couple of years later in Fremantle Maritime Museum, which was on subsea technology. Now, we did have a decent time frame of that, and we also had a good budget, and it was a bit of a different one because it was a joint venture between the museum and the Society of Underwater Technology. They wanted something which was going to appeal to the younger teams, to get them interested in technology and stuff.
Good.
So that was
You
good.
might have to.
Project.
We might have to move on pretty soon, Mike.
Sorry?
You might have to move on pretty soon. We've just got 10 minutes each to talk about.
I'll just flick through these. This was a polar opposite to the Pompeii one, because we had the time and the budget to do some really interesting things. And again, we had a really good access to do funny stuff with the lighting, like they were disco lights with gobos, and we were projecting onto highly reflective walls, which made for a very dynamic, fun exhibition. It's only a very small gallery, but again, it tripled the visitation to the museum. So everyone was very, very pleased with that. And again, they've had good exhibitions on at the Maritime Museum. Some have been great, and some you think, I'm not sure that they ticked all the boxes. So I'm keen to see a more savvy audience appreciating and putting feedback in on things done well, and being adventurous in terms of going out and checking out new stuff. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks, Mike. All right, so Mike's the as I say, both the CSA president and the chair of the Western Australian division, and the Western Australian division has run a great series of live events continuously. They powered right through COVID, and they've maintained and continue to maintain a great program of predominantly live events. All right, so let's. I want to go through the just an overview of the events in New South Wales, and I became chair in early 2015, and I unfortunately a lot of I know that the division had a whole series of events, basically something from 6 to 10 events a year, pretty continuously. But a lot of those have sort of been lost in the mists of time, unfortunately. So what I wanted to do with this little presentation is just show just make a little record of the events that have run while I've been chair. But I think it's of interest to sort of see the range of colour specializations that we've covered, and both I think sort of as an indication of the sort of things that we could do again, or perhaps indication of things that we should pay more attention to. So I'll just very quickly run through the events we've had year by year, and if you're in New South Wales, you can keep a list of check off the ones that you attended and see who wins a prize at the end for the most that they went to. So 2015 we had some talks about color in painting. Jean Pretorius gave a talk about a web app he had at that time for illustrating colors picked from images. I gave a talk about traditional and modern color theory. We had Zena O'Connor on color psychology, the artist Tim Miller, who talking about his ideas on color and vision. Tim will be talking at the conference again. And Carol Pickvance on architectural color. And we had a end of year event with Julian Ashton Art School. In 2016 we had a display of historical books on colour at the National Art School. We had a gallery walk. We had a speaker on film and television, the work of a film and television colorist. We had architectural colour with Sonia Vanderhaar, paintings, analysis and conservation with Simon Ives of the Art Gallery, a gallery visit, Jocelyn Morn, children's book illustrator talking about colour in her work, Freya Blackwood, and an end of year event at Jasco Colour Suppliers with Natalie O'Connor, who many of us know. 2017, another International Colour Day event at National Art School, showing some work of some of students of a workshop I did there. The gallery work again, a 30th anniversary dinner. Two of the artists from Vivid in Sydney, Balthazar and Ali Indemula, gave a talk on their work. I should say that in these early years we were largely doing live events, and we have to thank Virginia Verner, who gave us the use of an excellent venue, the Albion Centre, for live events. We did have a webinar with Christina de Cataldi in University of Delaware, a talk on colour in coloration in nature, and a presentation on plant dyes by Liz Williamson. Next year, again, a presentation on blue tiles in Portugal by Ana Maria de Cara. An International Colour Day event with Eva Fay and myself and Jean Pretorius, and Ana Maria giving presentations. We had a botanical artist. We had let's see, Babette Hayes gave a talk about her life work. We had Wendy Davis talking about colour and lighting, an event at the Colour Vision Lab at University of New South Wales, a talk on synesthesia, and a talk on colour in 18th century painting by Michelle Hiscock, who again will be speaking at the conference. 2019, we had Paul Martin giving a talk. He's our keynote speaker for the conference. I gave something for the Sydney Design Festival with Anna Maria. Had an ICD, International Colour Day event with Resine Paints. I gave a talk on Leonardo for the 500th anniversary of his death. Another lighting person, Christopher Mulder, gave a talk about his work. We were visited by the very well-known philosopher of colour, Mohan Mathan, who gave a live talk for us at Julian Ashton's. Wonderful encaustic painter, Randall Avila, and we held a book launch for Karen Haller, who's from Sydney, but now lives and works in the UK, as our end-of-year event and dinner. Then our last event before COVID was a talk on Eurobond paints with Peter Tasker, and then COVID hit. And so we quickly organised a presentation with philosopher Dr. Derek Brown and myself, who both had chapters in the Rutledge Philosophy of Colour handbook, and that Derek co-authored. Another talk, a talk on paints, on artist paints, sorry, with Michael Harding. Another talk from Virginia on colour in France. Amazing abstract painter, Dr. Liz Coates, who's one of the Canberra Colour Club, and a talk by well-known UK paint historian, I guess you could say, Patrick Beattie. 2021, we had our national conference, which was wholly online over 3 days, and this, I think, was sort of probably a landmark in sort of a lot of international involvement. We had quite a few international speakers and registrants. Berit Bergstrom gave a presentation. We had a speaker who'd studied the Hilma af Klint, the painter who had a big exhibition in Sydney at the time that most people missed out on because of COVID. Andrea Looker from Belgium, a talk on Kandinsky and his colour shape associations by Marcia Cohen from the US. Well-known Australian sculptor Ron Robertson Swan gave a talk, interviewed with Ali Indermuller, and another associate of Ali's, Elon L. from Melbourne, gave a talk on his lighting work, lighting installations. For 2022, we had a multi-speaker International Colour Day forum with members of the Colour Literacy Project, including myself and Paul, Maggie Maggio, and the others you can see there. We had a wonderful still life painter, Todd Casey from the US, gave us a talk on how he uses colour and how he sort of thinks about colour relationships in light and shade. A gallery walk. Peter Donahue, or colour nerd, who gave a talk about his who was very well known on TikTok and now Instagram, in giving short videos that give excellent explanations about colour science. We had Australian artist and designer Linda Jackson give a talk about her career at the same time as she had a retrospective in the Bathurst Art Gallery and a fascinating talk on ancient Greek colour terms by Peter Gainsford from New Zealand. 2023, Balthasar Indemula gave us a talk on colour in scientific imaging. Our International Colour Day event was given by extremely interesting American illustrator who talked about the systematic palette arrangement by Frank Riley. That was given by Tristan Elwell. And then we had a series of events that were initiated by Jean Pretorius and Veronica Colvin, a series on colour education for mostly for painters, but we're talking about dyers as well. So the first one was by Ulysses Jackson. We had an interesting talk from Joachim Santos, Anna Maria de Cara's husband, a gallery visit, another talk in Jean's series that he gave on color mixing paths in color space, a talk on the figures at the early Bauhaus by American Michael Mettler, talk on dyes by Mark Liu, and a wonderful end of year event with Jocelyn Morn talking about her use of colour at her studio. Last year we had more in the series with Jan and Veronica with digital painting by Steve Forster. We had a big in-person event at the Sydney Mint at the Carolyn Simpson Library and Research Collection. We're talking about the colour teaching of Phyllis Shillitoe and Katrina Quinn, Jocelyn Warren, and myself gave talks. Jocelyn gave a wonderful recollection of her of actually studying under Phyllis Shillitoe at the what was then the Sydney Tech College. We had a gallery visit that year was to an exhibition by Natalie O'Connor and Joe Mellor at the Redleaf Gallery. We had a talk on colour in digital media by Les Walkling, and a colour a really popular webinar by Julie Klein talking about the art and science of crafting hair colour, and it was just a revelation on the things involved in the technology of colouring hair. We then had some talks in our series that were initiated by Nick Harkness and other members of the Canberra Colour Club, including one on the Book of Colours by Juraj Lipsha, and the amazing production of Alexandra Loska, who's incredibly prolific at the moment with new books coming out all the time. This year we started with a visit to a colour-themed exhibition in Bowral. We had for International Colour Day this year, we had a forum focused on XRF, X-ray fluorescence technology, which has sort of created quite a revolution in the analysis of paintings, in understanding how they're made and also their conservation, with Simon Ives and two of his colleagues from Europe. We'll be having more of those forums coming up jointly with the study group of art and design. We had a screening of the colour documentary by Alterance Gumby, also initiated by the Canberra people, and two more, one with Berit Bergstrom talking about her book Colour Choices, and one with Fiona McLaughlin, introduced and hosted by Sonia Vanderhaar, talking about one of her books on color, on art and architecture. So that's just a rapid run through the events we've had over the last 10 years, and I hope we've had a good broad coverage of different aspects of color. I think the society, I gather, started out as a primarily scientific focus, and at the time I joined, at least in New South Wales, I think the focus was more towards design, interior design, and color consultants and so forth. And I've tried to sort of have a broad coverage of the many different aspects of color, you know, to do not just science, not just art, not just education, but a balance of color itself and applied color. All right, so that's my story of what we've been up to in New South Wales. So I'll finish there. Does anyone want to break in, or that brings part one to an end? And in part two, I'll just run through a preview, very quick preview of the talks coming up in the for the conference. So shall I just proceed straight on, guys?
Yep.
Okay.
That was an outstanding presentation. An amazing coverage of topics color.
Oh, thanks very much, Nick. Yes, it's been a joint effort. You know, you're now part of that with your contributions from Canberra, and of course Jean and Veronica Colvin can't be mentioned enough for their contributions in their creating color series, for example, and many other people along the line have sort of contributed to that. This is sorry, I'd forgotten I'd put this little slide at the end. We had a little anonymous survey at the forum this year for the XRF forum, just asking people if they didn't mind just telling us what age bracket they're from, because you know there's a feeling sort of sometimes that it's hard to attract younger members to the society, but I sort of had a feeling that with the online presentations, we were likely to be reaching a pretty broad spectrum of ages, and but I had no way of proving it. I had no way of finding out. So most people were willing to sort of volunteer their age bracket, and yeah, it turned out like we've got a really good spread of the people we're reaching show a really good spread of ages. So that was satisfying, I think. And I think if we have, I think the online events will reach out to younger people who we hope will like to become involved with the society at some stage. Okay, so Colour Matrix is Sydney 2025 is coming up on October 31st to November 2nd, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have the Friday morning, we have a session on colour papers or presentations on colour science. Jean Pretorius is talking about a fascinating character, Dr. Christine Ladd-Franklin, who was in many ways well ahead of her time in her thoughts about the way color perception works. Her thoughts were collected in a book, I think at or very close to the end of her life, but she's a very interesting and sort of pivotal character who needs to be better known. And that will be followed by our keynote talk by Professor Paul Martin. And Paul will be talking about colour in the eye and brain. I'll give a talk that I've called The Apparent Physicality of Colour, which is sort of, I think, in a way, a bit of a bridge through to our last two scientific presentations, which are by Dr. Erin Goddard and Professor Branka Speha. Erin's a young world-class world specialist on colour constancy and actually several different, she gave us a choice of different papers to present, and we picked the one on colour constancy, but she's got a lot of interests in colour vision, and Branka, of course, is a well-known has a well-known contribution to perception of brightness and lightness. Then in the Friday afternoon, we've got some activities in two sessions. We've got a visit to the the Bilson lab, the ophthalmology lab at the old Sydney Eye Hospital, and at the same the alternative in that time slot is a visit to the Carolyn Simpson Library and Research Collection at the Sydney Mint. And then in the second session, we have a choice between a walking tour along Macquarie Street, looking at architectural exteriors and interiors with Kerry O'Donnell, and or alternatively a visit to the conservation labs at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And both those sessions, there's the alternative of doing a colour scavenger hunt with Paul Green Armitage, who's will be working with Natalie O'Connor there. So there are your options. All have limited numbers, so you'll want to register early to get onto those. On the Saturday and Sunday, or perhaps well, at least the Saturday, possibly and Sunday as well, perhaps, we'll have some exercises that Nick Harkness has made available, 12 new colour exercises that you can do if you want to skip on one of the presentations or in the lunchtime. Now, they'll be in the adjacent room. And then on Saturday in the morning, we have a session on colour education. We're very pleased to have Steve Westland and Maggie Maggio on Zoom talking about the making of their book, Universal Principles of Colour. This one was initiated by Nick, who originally lined them up to speak for a webinar. Then Paul Green Armitage is talking about teaching without teaching. Ruth Marion, another Life member, is talking about personal colours. And then Edward Charbonneau, who you might be known from his a podcast on colour that he's been given for quite a while, is speaking about his teaching at the University of Minnesota. Edward is a new member of the Colour Literacy Project. And then after that, Ed will be demonstrating with an associate of his, David Witt, a colour educational app that David has developed. And then Associate Professor from UTS, Emma Bucky Ulis, is going to tell us how little we know about colour, about light and colour. In the afternoon, we've got quite a rich collection of talks on environmental colour design, architectural colour. Our two New Zealand members, Julian and Alessandro, will be talking about conservation study of a homestead in New Zealand. Samantha Donnelly from UTS and Sonia Vanderhaar talking about trauma-informed colour design. Rebecca if I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is talking about stained glass. Rebecca Kadoran is talking about using coloured lighting in collaborative workspaces. And we have two speakers from Spain on Zoom talking about, again, about designing healing environments through art. So quite a rich day on Saturday, I think. On Sunday in the morning, we have two talks on colour naming, including one with Verena Schindler, who's zooming in from Switzerland, and another one isn't confirmed yet, but I think probably two talks on colour naming. And then for the rest of the session, different aspects of colour in art and art materials. So Diana Young from Queensland, University of Queensland, is talking about colour in Australian Indigenous contemporary art. Verena's coming back for a short talk about a colourful sculpture. Michelle Hiscock is going to give a talk on colour in 18th century portrait painting. And Natalie O'Connor has a talk entitled "The Laboratory on Colour," a laboratory of colour, talking about the relevance of the 19th century English colour maker and author George Field. Quite a fascinating, even perplexing character. And then in the afternoon we have before morning tea, we have some talks on colour colour perception in relation to art. Vladi, who's one of our committee members, talking about colour constancy in painted art. Tim Miller, who's a wonderful landscape painter, who's been thinking hard about colour and colour perception for a long time. We'll talk, and then there'll be a short talk with Leonie Burridge and myself talking about a phenomenon called monocular rivalry, in which the colours you perceive change depending on what you concentrate in a picture. After morning, and in the last bracket after afternoon tea, we have Steve Patterson of Matisse, or Derivan Matisse Paints, talking about sustainability, challenges and solutions in art materials. And we'll finish with a presentation by the authors of an amazing, relatively new website, artistpigments.org, that is constantly growing. There's always new features there, but it's got an incredible database of information on different paint brands and you can do interactive mixing of paints and all sorts of things on their site. So that'll be the authors will be present on Zoom, and John Pretorius will host that out here. So it's a pretty exciting lineup. I think that's an understatement. We're really humbled by the generosity of all the authors who've made themselves available for the conference. A downside of that is that we're inviting all of our in-person speakers are able to register free of charge, and we hope that they're there for the whole session. But there will be limited places for the rest of us. Okay, so the conference is certain to sell out. We only have so many places available for people who want to attend in person. So if you want to attend in person, listen very carefully. It's going to open at the moment. It's only open for our presenters to register, to tell us what days they want to turn up, and that's up until midnight on Sunday. So from midnight on Sunday, the registration will open for for Colour Society of Australia members, and it'll be open exclusively to CSA members for 7 days. So if to give a chance to our members to give them a good chance of getting a spot, but of course you can also become a member if you want to register in that first week, and it actually works out that if you want to attend for the 3 days, it costs just the same to join as a member and then get the member's rate as it would to pay for the 3 days as a non-member. So you might as well join and register and be sure of getting a place. What we've also set up the registration separately for the 3 days. So that might be slightly irksome if you're needing to register 3 times, but we did it because we thought it would allow more people to get to attend in person on the days that they're especially interested in. So and so if you can just register for 1 day that interests you, and you can pay a little extra to get Zoom, get registration online for the other 2 days, if that that's is what you might want to do. All right, so that's the end of that. So I guess I'll stop sharing. Thanks for listening to that. And so I think now we're coming to the last part. So Nick and I and Mike, we're just, I guess I maybe start out by just inviting people to, if you like the things that we've been doing and plan to do, then you encourage you to support us by joining as a member, and perhaps not just joining as a member, but becoming active in the society. We've got a lot happening in Sydney and Canberra and Perth, but it's a big country, and it's would be great to see people being more active, especially say in Southern Division, which has quite a good number of members, and I'm sure many more people who are interested in colour. We don't have a Queensland division at the moment because our rules say we have to have a minimum of 10 members in an area to create a division, and we've sort of been bumping along just below that for the last few years. But if more was happening, I think, in Queensland, we could get it over the line to bring the division back. Yeah, so I think the Canberra Colour Club, which Nick might want to talk a bit more about, I think that's a very interesting and valuable development where you can get a bunch of members getting together in the same city or the same area, and just getting together for social events, and then of course what happened with the Canberra group was that they started sending us speakers for our webinar series. So it's I think it'd be great to see that sort of thing happening in other places. Nick, do you want to add something to that, or?
Yeah, well, basically, the reason behind the Canberra Colour Club was I moved to Canberra about 2.5 years ago, and Jean Pretorius was already here. He'd been here for about a couple of years before we arrived, and we met for coffee and pastry to discuss matters colour. And we thought, well, there must be more people around in Canberra, which is a relatively small city of 400,000, who would be interested in colour and talking. So basically, there are 5 of us. There's myself, Jean Pretorius, Sonia De La Ha, Liz sorry, Liz, I forgot your surname.
Liz Coates.
Clark. And who have I missed? Of course, yes, our proxy member, Laura Berman from Kansas University. At the time John and I were setting up the Canberra Colour Club, Laura was on a Fulbright fellowship grant for 6 months for a 6-month project at the University of Canberra. So she's part of the team as well, and she organised Oltaronchi Gumbe's review of his video on colour, which was quite amazing. Yeah, so the objective behind this is that if you live in Orange, you live in Bathurst, you live in Tasmania, where there's just a small group, well, either you can join us with the Canberra Colour Club and just note who's talking at one of the webinars. Our focus is getting people, both local and international, who are particularly well known with their colour expertise, and to make their knowledge available to everybody who's interested in colour. Which
I've been thinking about how we could sort of make this facilitate this. Obviously, we can't sort of distribute people's emails, but if anyone wanted to volunteer to try to set up a colour club in, say, in Cairns or in Brisbane or in Adelaide, Melbourne, anywhere, like what you could do is email one of us, say email me, and what I could do is send out an email to other people in your area and saying that you were interested in setting up a colour club, some sort of informal group of members and non-members. I think Nick had not everyone was a member to start with. Yeah. So if think about it, if you'd be, I guess that's for me. That's one of my questions tonight is just if you'd be interested in trying to get together with other colour people in your area, and it's sort of outside our 3 centres, or especially really outside of Sydney, Canberra, and Perth. Then let me know, and like I can sort of try to contact or send an email to people in your area. And the other thing is that we do need people to work on committees. If there's people who would be willing, especially to help out in Southern Division, where poor Glenys has been acting secretary for quite a few years, but it's very hard to get a group of people together at the same time. So anything like that, let us know, and we'll try to put you in contact with others in your area, or can talk to you about what sort of positions you might like to take on a division or a national committee. We're looking for a treasurer, for example, at the moment. So there's just reach out and we can tell you more. Mike, did you want to add anything? Or
no, it's an ongoing thing that we've been looking at in Perth, is how exactly best to get the word out and generate the interest for new members to come. We've had a limited success in Perth. We have had some new people join, but it's just the lack of big volume. That's the thing. So, but as I say, it's a work in progress.
No, you and Paul and people over there, Ruth, you've done an amazing job, and against the tyranny of distance and spreading, spread out population and so forth.
Can I just say on the matter of...
You just missed me talking about you, Ruth.
I've got you on loud because I'm peeling potatoes. Sorry. I just want to say that I've been sort of secretary for a while and thinking very much about how to attract younger people. And we've actually survived over many years bringing new people in because we've had teachers in the tertiary level whose students have been happy to come part of us. Well, it's just very recently, Paul and I have been invited to do a course, a couple of lessons on colour, basic lessons for new students at the local TAFE. And we are allowed to invite those students who are of many ages to join the Colour Society or come along to our meetings. So we basically just dropped the idea into one of the lecturers, and they've opened the doors to us.
Fantastic.
So Paul and I next week will be talking to 44 people of different ages about colour, and they're all there because they're interior design students, so presumably they're already interested. We'll see what comes of that.
Right, that's good news.
And we're also cultivating one of the current head of design at ECU, the Edith Cowan University. Mike and I have had a bit to do with her, because when she engaged a couple of or a group of students to help us with our publications, with letting people know that we were having a conference in Fremantle a couple of years ago. It just, that contact is something we can't let die. So I'm sending her all of our information. At the moment, we're not limiting our newsletters to just members. We're sending them out to a multitude of contacts.
That's great. That's great.
Just to keep, and it's not a very formal, it's a very informal newsletter, trying to send one out every couple of months at least, to keep people up to date. And we've also done a survey of our contacts, listing all the colour areas that are on the website, asking which ones are you interested in, because that will help us with planning. Well, we've had quite a few replies to that.
Great.
And so it's not as if we're not trying.
No, that's you've got a you've done wonders, miracles, really, over there.
Well, we are aging. All of us are aging, and been holding it all together as long as we can. And the idea is now to get people, bring people onto the committee, as many as possible for a year, to see how we operate, and then ask people to put their hands up. So
yes, yeah, I think that's
going to have a large committee, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You need to have a you need to be reaching a lot of people to start, and then some of those people you reach will want to become members. But the important thing is to be reaching a lot of people first. Some of them become members, and we're getting members. Like, we have something, 20 or 30, always have 20 or 30 members from international now. People who just want to help us, support us from overseas, which is fantastic. And then some of those members eventually will want to become on the committee and so forth. Yeah.
One other aspect is that there are a lot of people out there who are very interested in colour, but they're not trained in any particular area, and we're opening the door to them as well. People who are interested in colour, they'll come to every meeting, and they'll probably do things like the hospitality and meeting people at the door and that kind of thing. They'll be very willing to do that because they love colour, and that's why they're willing to become members. So not professional, don't have to be professional, but they just love us. Among us.
No, that's great. That's great.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. That was good. All right. I just remember one thing I meant to say in part 2 about the conference. Well, I'll be sending out an email over the weekend, which will have the links to register. Okay, so watch for that email. If you're as long as you've checked the right boxes to receive emails from us, everyone here should get that email with the registration links. Okay. All right, we've got some suggestions already coming in the chat there, so we'll have a look at that. Or I guess we're Oh, wow, it's nearly 1:15. I guess we'd better think about finishing up. Does anyone else want to say anything?
Just thank
Well,
you. Thank you,
uh,
David, and the National Committee for organising this. It's been wonderful.
Oh, well, that's right. This is actually well, yep. It's good to have us all here together. Anyone else want to say hello? Well, I'll say hello to Eva Fay, who's one of our founding members, who's sitting there listening quietly. Jean Pretorius is here, and Kerry O'Donnell from the New South Wales Committee. Glenys is here from the Southern Division. Tony Marion's there as well from Western Australia. Yeah, so that's thank you all for coming along, being here. Great.
And thank
Thanks,
you,
David.
David,
Thanks
for
for running that.
organising this. Very good.
That's great. Yep. Thank you.
No,
David.
yeah,
Dr.
I'm really happy to see you all here. All right. Okay. So,
Okay. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
bye.
See you in Sydney.
See you in Sydney. Yes.
Thanks, David.
Great. Bye.